But the critical thing about the Bilboes project is to get it. Now we're moving into the development and implementation phase. Is to get it done and get it done as quickly as possible. And a key element to that is to make sure we've got the liquidity, the money, so that we can start placing those long lead time orders and don't end up waiting and twiddling our thumbs for big bits of kit to arrive.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Caledonia Mining Chief Executive Mark Learmonth. Mark, very good to speak with you and a great set of results for 2025. Could you walk us through some of the financial and operational highlights of the year?
Yeah, thank you. Revenue up 46%. That was largely because of the higher gold price, so production was pretty much stable. Gross profit up 78% to nearly $140 million. It's a big number. EBITDA up 100% to $125 million. And profit after tax nearly tripled. Well, it was doubled from what, 23 million to 67 million. So a very, very strong year financially, underpinned by clearly a good gold price, but stable production. So very pleasing results.
What's your outlook for the year ahead, Mark?
So the outlook for the year ahead is really focused on Bilboes, where we're busy now with the completing the funding package and moving into the development phase. At Blanket, we are looking very hard at Blanket to see what we can do to get a better control, get those costs down. And frankly, it's a two-pronged approach. On the one hand, it is measures to actually reduce the dollar value of costs, but also looking at measures to increase production at Blanket so that we can spread fixed costs over more ounces. So as the year progresses, hopefully there'll be some news as to the various initiatives that we can see. Probably won't come into effect until 2027 and onwards, but starting a process of getting Blanket's costs under control and increasing the production.
Looking at Bilboes, what's the key upcoming milestones for Bilboes?
So with Bilboes, as we announced earlier on, we had a very successful convertible bond raise in New York in January, which gave us $130 million net. So we've got sufficient liquidity at the moment. We're now trying to build on that liquidity by completing what we call an interim funding package. We're targeting $150 million from banks in Zimbabwe. So the ambition, the aim is to have obviously the banked proceeds of the convertible, the interim facility, which then gives us the liquidity to start placing long lead time orders early in Q3, so that we can actually get this project moving. And then the interim facility will, in due course, be repaid from a project financing. But the critical thing about the Bilboes project is to get it. Now we're moving into the development and implementation phase. Is to get it done and get it done as quickly as possible. And a key element to that is to make sure we've got the liquidity, the money, so that we can start placing those long lead time orders and don't end up waiting and twiddling our thumbs for big bits of kit to arrive.
Mark, you recently hosted a Zimbabwe-themed mining event in Cape Town, including members of government and investors. Do you feel there's been a shift in investor sentiment towards Zimbabwe?
Yes, we do. We can see it quite clearly. Part of that is because things genuinely have improved in Zimbabwe on an absolute basis. Government is pragmatic, focused, and certainly has been very supportive in respect to their engagement with us. So Zim is improving, and as we all know, the rest of the world is becoming increasingly risky and unstable. So on a relative basis, Zimbabwe is improving very considerably. The event was a great success. 150 people attended, standing room at the back, and it was a very welcome step forwards in terms of trying to shine a light on and try and dispel some of the misunderstandings about Zimbabwe as an investment destination. It was very good.
Mark, you mentioned supportive. How supportive is the Zimbabwe government towards in-country gold operations like yours?
Well, as we're moving now into the implementation phase, there are a few bits and pieces, some issues that we need to resolve and get agreement with government. I was there in Harare last week, and we're getting a very warm response, very constructive, very engaged. People make themselves available, and hopefully we can get this all wrapped up as quickly as possible so that we can create the environment where we can deploy thick end of $500 million to build a gold plant in Zimbabwe, and everybody can benefit. So I think everyone's pretty clearly on the same page here now.
Mark, congratulations again on those numbers. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Mark Learmonth, the Chief Executive of Caledonia Mining.